Does everybody have pen and paper? All right.
Yes.
So, and have Melissa or Lynn, thanks for muting yourself. Now I'm going to ask you another question. Do you know anything about contemplative writing?
No.
And do you do any kind of writing whatsoever?
A little bit, not a lot.
Okay, Melissa?
I am a writer, so I'm working on a children's book. And I do some automatic writing, or I've been dabbling in that a little bit. I assume it's kind of similar, the contemplative, just really digging deep down in and letting whatever comes out come out.
Exactly. So, and thank you for setting that. So contemplative writing is just that. We're going to get a prompt, which happens to be from Barbara's book, and then we just put ourselves through the pen onto the paper in whatever way comes. And the handouts that are connected to the email that we send, the contemplative writing process, there's some tips on there. So whenever you want, you can go into that and look, but it's basically you try to keep writing the whole time. You follow your mind. Anything that comes up is welcome, even if this is the dumbest thing I've ever done. It's all welcome. The idea is just to, the same as Barbara's talking about, right? Like, how do we keep listening to whatever is in there and allowing its voice to come through, whether that's our need to heal something of our own lives or ancestrally or of the future, how the evolutionary impulse speaks through us. And so I found this practice that I've been doing for about 7 years now. Is this an extraordinary tool to really to follow, to find deeper and deeper purpose in life. So we're going to keep writing the whole time. Don't let anything stop you. It can be anything. It can be stream of consciousness. It can be fictional. It can be poetry. It can be a children's story. And use the senses. I taste, I touch, I feel, I see. That's always quite helpful. And know that we're each filled with very powerful stories, and the universe needs us to be telling these stories, and especially bringing forward the new stories of Homo Amore Universalis, right? So we shall next, we've asked people to bring in a sacred item that they might hold in this writing space, this we space throughout the weeks, so that as you're not in this space during the week, you can just maybe write with that or write off of that as a prompt. And then also that helps us get to know each person more. Did you guys bring anything about that? All right, Lynn, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, what I have is these chimes that I got from one of my mentors. And I just love the sound of it. It just has that. And again, creates that vibration in my heart area. So this is what I love.
Thank you very much. Thank you for bringing the bells in. Melissa?
I'm actually at my Connecticut house and not at my house in Maine, so I don't have as much with me. But I just brought this journal. It was recently blessed at a different meeting that I was at to help me with writing. And it was a gift from my daughter, so that will be my sacred item today.
That is fantastic. Thank you. Allie?
Today, even though we all have candles, these candles are a little bit special to me because I got to create these candles. So I put a little bit of myself in it, and as I burn it, it brings me to a presence that I hope carries with me through my writing and my experience whenever I write it. This one's a lavender and lemongrass smell.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Allie. I'm going to go grab mine. I'll be right back.
Ellie, that's interesting. The calendar candle I picked is lavender also. Just plain
Yeah.
lavender.
By the way, I love your nails, Lynn.
Oh, thank you. First time I had a mani-pedi in my life. My daughter does it all the time, but I'm experimenting, so.
They're so cute.
That's great. Yeah, they go along with your colors, Allie. So my sacred item that I carried with me for the last writing course, as well as this one, is the jaguar, which is a god symbol in the Mayan tradition. And it is Guatemala where I had this force come into my life, where I also began to write 8 years ago. So that's what I'm bringing with me. Thank you. So let us light the candle now. Does everybody have a candle with them?
I do not.
Okay, so we will light a candle for you. And Lynn, you got a candle. So in this lighting, we again recognize the unity that is always with us, with the universe, with each other, with the creative forces that we're desiring to bring through. And I will also light a candle for Melissa here.
Thank you.
My matches are not working. I'm going to run and get something to light my candle with, other than these matches.
All right, take your time. Melissa, how long have you been working on your children's books?
About a year. And the book that I'm working on is called Superhero You. And it really is about helping kids evolve, recognizing their amygdala. I call it lizard brain, and being able to calm themselves, and then tapping into their innate powers.
I love that. And are you illustrating it too?
I'm trying, but I'm not an illustrator. So I have the pictures, but I'm a little hesitant to put it out there yet. I need some advice on the pictures for sure.
Well,
Melissa, I'm a graphic designer. You can send
Really?
some of those images my way, and I'll give you a little bit of a critique or a helping hand, whatever you need.
Absolutely, thank you.
That's fun. I've had a little dream out there about helping with the children's book, and Kristina and I have talked about it a few times. So
Yay, that's exciting.
Ooh,
And I love my characters. My characters are really fun. I've got Lizard Brain. I have the Resistance, so Lizard Brain, the Box, the Wet Blankets. And then my allies are the Mighty Whisper, the Wave of Wonder, your Tribe.
Huh.
So they're fun, and I've created some little drawings for them, but it would be really nice to show someone who could give me some advice.
That's
that
fantastic.
sounds so fun.
Yeah. All right, Lynn, are we with you and the candle?
Yeah,
All
I'm
right.
all set. Thank you.
All right, wonderful. So now what we'll do is go into a 5-minute meditation. So does anybody need meditation instruction, or are we all good on that? Oh, all right. So for 5 minutes, and Allie will set the time. Just ground yourself right into Mother Earth and let yourself be open throughout to the cosmos and all that is, and the love that surges through everything at every moment. Let us begin our meditation.
I'll sing this once at the beginning and once at the end of the meditation.
Welcome back. So now we're going to go into the contemplative writing. So again, trust the process. Try not to stop. It's not about editing. Use original detail from your own personal experiences. And we do record and we do share the video, but know that if you want to be cut out of that so that your work is confidential, that's something you can decide after you write, so you don't have to be thinking about that while you're writing. And whenever you feel a little bit stuck, if you go back to something in the prompt to initiate the continuation of your writing, that's very helpful. And then once we're done and after our break, I'll give more of a outline of the feedback process. So don't worry about how that's going to go right now. So we will write for 20 minutes and I will read the prompt, and it'll always be here on the screen. You're welcome to, stay on mute, and it's up to you whether you stay where you are or turn your video off. But you'll always see the title of the prompt. I'll also read the content in case you want to include that, and just to give full honoring to Barbara's work. Code 32. Stay in your center and breathe in the light. Take deep breaths and breathe into the center of your heart. The breath fixes this vibrational level of frequency into the new substance of you as a universal human. Once integration stabilizes, there's a period of consolidation, integration, and incorporation. This is a natural process. You are becoming an individuated cosmic being. All right, so Ali will again hit the bowl to enter us into the writing space. That'll happen at the end of the 20 minutes, so you know when it's up. We'll do a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back to reconvene. Okay, so see you all soon.
So now go ahead and either finish your writing or go to the bathroom. We're going to have a 5-minute break, and we will see you for feedback after that.
All right, and welcome, Patty.
Thank you.
Are you coming on thinking that the time starts at in 6 minutes, or are
Yeah.
you a little bit late? Okay, so Sherwood sent an email. So just to clear up the timing, it starts at 12 o'clock Central Time, which is 1 hour ago every week. So for the folks on the East Coast, that will be 1 o'clock Eastern Time. And Patty, where are you at?
Oregon.
Oregon. So that means it's 10 a.m. Pacific Time. And I guess we'll check on that this week, but Sherwood is saying it has something to do with her calendar and it populates on her time. So is everyone clear now when the time starts?
Actually, I sent an email asking if it was 10 o'clock my time or 11 o'clock my time, and got the impression that it was 11 o'clock my time.
Well, we're figuring this out as we go. And so do you want to listen in on the on us writing, or do you want to join us next time for the process to start with your own writing throughout?
I'll listen.
Okay, great. So we've just written. How did that all go for everyone? Lynn, do you want to say anything about the process for you?
Yeah, it was, I thought it was going to be more difficult for me because in the past, words were not always, they don't always flow that easily for me.
Mm-hmm.
So, and one thing that I discovered, talking about being in the silence is, as I was writing, I wrote down that maybe my lack of words is silence for me. So instead of the way other people go into the silence, and maybe that's my silence is not having the words.
That's beautiful. And that is my deepest hope for each of us, is that we, through this process of writing and reading and practice and creating this we space, that we each come into a deeper relationship to ourselves in this way. So thank you for sharing that, Lynn. Melissa, do you want to say a few words about your experience?
Sure. It's been a while actually since I've written fiction. I'm also a teacher, so this year has been challenging and the creative side of me has been struggling. So I was surprised when I went right into a fiction piece, and I'm always fighting my inner editor.
Right.
So I had to stop several times and go, shh. But I enjoyed it very much.
Yeah, I'm very glad. Thank you for trusting that and being with us. Chris, is your name Chris or Christine?
Actually, I go by Christine, but I'll answer to anything.
All right. Christine, would you like to say a few words about your process?
Of course, I was desperately late, and I apologize again. I wrote a couple of paragraphs, and we'll see how it goes. It wasn't that difficult, but I don't actually know the context yet, so I was a little hampered there.
All right.
But I'm going to enjoy it, I know that.
All right. So what I'm going to do now is just give a few thoughts about the feedback process and also about the sharing of your writing. So always during the second half of our contemplative writing, Awaken the New Species with 52 Codes for Conscious Self-Evolution, We will be sharing our writing if you so choose, and we will be giving feedback. And that process turns out to be just so much fun and deeply connecting both to ourselves as well as to each other. So when you read, you want to read slowly and clearly, and also resist giving that initial framing, which happens for most of us, which is like, just really just work on just letting us receive your writing. And again, it's confidential. We do record it. But if you decide that you don't want anyone else but us to hear you, then we can cut you out of the recording. And you have the option of receiving feedback or receiving no feedback. And so that's something that you can pick. Most people do like to have the feedback. So we'll learn more about that as we go. And then in terms of listening, just listen with your body and your heart. You can feel free to take notes, to jot down little bits that stuck out to you, phrases, things that repeat, things that you were moved by, things that you'd like to hear more about are great things to take notes about. And also really try to respond to the writing directly, so that you don't end up talking about yourself, but you really are talking about the writing and your experience of the writing. So on that note, does anybody have any questions before we have the first person read? No? Okay. Does anybody have a burning desire to start reading? Allie, do you want to go ahead?
Sounds good. Okay. Breathe in the light. Take it into my center. How deep can I go? Eyes closed tightly, hands squeezed in concentration. I let the air travel in through my nostrils, admiring lavender lemongrass scent. Past the back of my throat, it waves to my heart and takes residence in the depths of my lungs. For a second, for an hour, time is a perception of my human mind, and this light, this air, demands no limits. Hands once tightly gripped loosen. Can we go deeper? Imagining, feeling the walls of my lungs holding air, giving oxygen to my bloodstream. Ease flows through me, my veins a lazy river for oxygenated cells. I feel breath down to the very atoms that make up Allie. I've found it. I've found center through breath. Through finding center, the walls of my being feel more expansive. It's funny how getting deeper, traveling through smaller scales, lets me see how large I really am. We are not defined or limited by the bounds of a body. We build the walls to our own limits, to our own being. We can just as easily tear them down. This is the light that I've learned through breath, what it is to be a cosmic being. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Allie, for sharing. Would you like feedback?
Sure.
All right. So does anyone have a burning desire to go first? Or I can go first also to model the process. All right. So Allie, one of the qualities I really enjoyed about your writing is the way that you merge together your body and writing and perception and the candle and your feelings and the sense of being free or being limited, all the way into atoms and time and walls. And so that was really a lovely journey to go on. Thank you. And a couple of my favorite sentences were, time is a perception of my human mind. I feel blessed for the very atoms that make up Allie. And we build the walls to our own limits, then we can break them down. Thank you. I'm complete.
Thank you, Kristina.
You're welcome. All right, who would like to go next? Melissa?
Yeah, I'll go.
Thank you.
I jotted down a few lines that I liked as well. Takes residence in the depth of my lungs, your breath. I enjoyed that, just living there for a few minutes. And then I like the line, can we go deeper? Can take me there. And then I found it. And again, I like the size traveling through the lets me know if I lost that last bit of your work, but basically finding my true size through the tininess of my insides. And I really enjoyed that. I could feel it with you as you were reading. I appreciated that.
Thank you so much, Melissa.
I can go next.
Thank you, Lynn.
I just jotted down some words and phrases. I like that I liked when you were traveling through your body, going into following the blood and the breath and all of that. That was a good journey. And I just wrote down light, air, no limits. And yet you found your center through breath and a cosmic being. So those are the things that I wrote down. That was a fun journey with you. Thank you.
Thanks for taking that journey with me, Lynn.
Thank you, Lynn. Christine, would you or Patty, do you want to give any feedback next?
I could say a few words. I was particularly happy to listen about the breathing. I have trouble breathing. It's a very important thing to me. And I enjoyed Allie's ease of breathing. It was a kind of a cure for me for the few minutes that you read, and I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
That's so sweet, Christine. I appreciate that.
Patty?
I guess I would share, I wasn't planning to be a part of this, but I really enjoyed the traveling. You went through all of the body with the breath, showing how important breath is in our entire being, our blood, our lungs, and how breath brings us the very life that is necessary in order to be the beings that we are. So I more just listen to how well you write and how enjoyable it was to just listen to the ease more than I really was thinking about saying anything about it.
That was wonderful feedback, Patty.
Yeah, thank you.
And Allie, would you like to say anything about your own writing?
I had a lot of fun going into myself and then outside of myself. It was like, if I'm taking this air inside of myself and then expelling it, like where does it cut off from being me? You know, is it when it leaves my mouth? Is it when it like travels to you? Like, what is me? What is, and then I felt huge. And it was fun to share that with you guys. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Allie. And Allie, since we're on you and we're just finishing up, do you want to speak at all to how you felt when you first started contemplative writing and how you feel now, and just how the process works a little bit?
Yeah, so at first I was nervous to see what would come out. And I'm someone who reflects best in myself when I am like in a conversation with someone else. So to have that conversation with myself on paper was vulnerable. And but this feedback process has made it like the conversation with myself, and then even more powerful, like a conversation with myself and reflection from others. And it really brings forth some of those things that I'm trying to say to myself subliminally that I don't catch. And then someone will be like, oh, I noticed this in your writing. And it's like, wow, that hits home. That's a message that I needed to hear. That's awesome. And really connecting to the prompt in any way as artistically as I feel is important, because it's whatever arises, really. It's a reflection of what you're trying to attach to in yourself. And so writing's always a journey for me. It's just being along for the ride.
Thank you very much. All right. Are you complete?
I'm complete.
Great. Who would like to go next?
I can go.
All right, Melissa.
All right. She stood on the cliffs, high above the forest. The sun wrapped itself around her, holding her in its warmth. Her hair nestled about her shoulders, gently flowing in the breeze. Upon the mountaintop. It was here she could be herself. It was here she could breathe. She welcomed the sunlight, raising her arms in blessing and invitation. Her heart opened with love, joy, compassion, and the light flooded in. It filled her. It raised her. She felt it lift her off her feet. She breathed out once again, took a deep breath, allowing the light to enter. It exploded through her, exiting her fingertips, toes, and chakras, floating above the clouds. She began to feel like the sun itself, in and out, pulsing with love and light, shining down upon the earth, touching, covering, caressing, loving everyone and everything, for they were all parts and pieces of her. She streamed the light, letting it flow where needed, quietly asking for guidance as to the people and places that needed it most. She could no longer see that which was below her, but she need not use her eyes. She felt every breath, every breathe, every breeze, every quiver, every caress. The buildup continued in her heart, so much so that tears flowed. She felt the truth that was her, the part of her that connected to the earth from the inside out. She simply allowed it to be. For the moment, she was a star, and it felt right. It felt good, and she didn't want it to end. Waves of knowing washed over her. Pulsing images flashed across the canvas of her mind, and she wept. This was why she had come. This was why she would return over and over again. To love, to teach, to guide. It was what she did. It was what she had done before in distant lands and times since forgotten. She was made for this. And in these times of remembrance and connection, she knew her power. She was a beacon of light leading the way for others. She took this knowing and tucked it away inside, a pearl of wisdom to be worn on her heart, a reminder during those times that she crawled in the valleys of the linear world. Slowly, she allowed herself to feel her body once again, the vessel that held her essence. She felt the warmth of her skin, the rocks under her toes. She could smell the pine, and she was home. This home that was given to her by the light.
Thank you very much, Melissa. Really appreciate that. Would you like feedback?
Yes, please.
All right. Who would like to go?
Melissa, wow, that was quite a journey. That was amazing.
Thank you.
It started off with this moment, and it felt like a moment that was pretty present and like expansive. You know, this moment could have been minutes, it could have been hours. This woman on a mountain, feeling herself, breathing, feeling the light. And then it takes you on this journey. And a few of the lines I wrote down, she felt it lift her off her feet and exploded through her. I love that exploded. The breath is like the power in that. It represents really strongly. Below her, she need not use her eyes. She simply allowed it to be. Pearl of wisdom to be worn on her heart, reminding her of the time she allowed her body to explore the linear world. Wow, that's a lot of depth. There's a lot to unpack in that. That's amazing. Just right there. And then you bring yourself back to the presence. You're back on the mountaintop. You're feeling the stones on your feet and the light shining. I really appreciate the journey you took us on. It was beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Allie. Who would like to go next?
I can go next. This is Lynn. Again, I just have phrases, but it was just the journey, and I was there with you. So it was starting out on the mountaintop with your heart open and light flooded in and exploded through you and the sun itself. And then you took this light journey and allowed it to be. And then you knew the power and the beacon of light. I really love that beacon of light. I can picture that beacon going out. And then at the end, you returned home and got back in touch with the body and your body and the earth. And it was just a whole journey into the light and the discovery of the light and what it means, and then returning back again. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Who would like to go next?
Can I say a few words?
Christine, thank you.
I think you write so beautifully, and the description was so elegant. I could envision this woman, you, whatever. I could see everything. And one phrase that I loved was connected to the earth from the inside out. From the inside out, I think is so relevant to so many things, whether it be our heart's desire, our vocation, whatever. I think from the inside out says so. For writing, Allie, I really enjoyed it.
Thank you, Christine. Patty?
I have to say you're a fabulous writer as well. It's having not been here for the first half of this class, I have to say it's a little intimidating to listen to these two. I'm not quite anyway, that's about me, and I want to talk about you. The image that I got in listening to you tell this story was a woman who connected with nature, with light, with the breeze, with the beauty outside of her, and brought that internally and connected in an aliveness within her, and then took that back out and connected with what was around her. So it was a whole external, internal, external connection, and said beautifully.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. So Melissa, and just a little bit of integration there for all of us. It's just a really brave thing to do that we're doing. So wherever it is that we find ourselves, this practice of honoring that place from which we come and the bravery that it takes to do this is an important part of this practice. And the practices we want to all strengthen, right? Finding ourselves where we are, being brave, and holding people up where they are. So, Melissa, it was interesting because in my mind, I didn't see you. I saw someone else, and it was almost more like the children's book. I felt the merging between what you had said about your children's book and this character on the cliff. So that's what I was feeling in my body when I was hearing about her, that I was meeting somebody that was real in your imagination and continuing to seek embodiment. And she felt very embodied. It was really wonderful. And then to have you talk about the way that she perceives her experience. You know, she felt herself lift off of her feet. She didn't need to use her eyes. She felt everything. And then for her to really come to, this is why she came and why she would come over and over again. You know, I just feel both the heroine's journey that the character is on, and what emanated out of that, so that I could further embody my own heroine's journey and my own ability to talk about these things and to be in my purpose, and to, you know, really decide in every cell of my being that I'm here for this purpose and I will come over and over again. So I really appreciated becoming more through your character. Thank you. And now it's your turn to say whatever you want or not. It's up to you.
Like, whenever I read or share something, I start shaking.
Which is just fine. You can do that. Okay.
So part of this for me is like pushing past that fear of sharing what I write and hoping that people enjoy it. And I'm always picking apart my words. So I appreciate the feedback from everyone on how the words affected them and what they meant, and the lines that stood out. Because sometimes they just sound trite to me, like I've heard them before. So I appreciate all of your honesty. And I'm still shaking, but better. I will get used to this. Thank you all.
You're so welcome. And Allie, do you want to read what you wrote to Melissa?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I just, as I was like listening more, I really felt, I was like, oh man, now I want to paint. Like paint a woman, you know, like in the sky, like, oh, being expansive, riding on some light.
That would be really wonderful.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Melissa. Are you complete?
I am complete. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Go ahead and mute yourself. And who would like to read next?
I can go next.
All right, Lynn, please.
So I just read what I wrote here. Is that correct?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I wrote Code 32, Universal Self. I have so many names for it. God, infinite intelligence, one mind, single I. When I try to connect, I sometimes succeed. Other times I feel like I'm not quite there. I wonder what that is all about and why it is so elusive. When I connect, things flow. I hear sounds differently. There's a vibrancy, relaxation. Center is where it all connects. We all connect and become one mind, one intelligence, divine love, compassion, seeing everyone as they truly are, as they have come here to be. I don't know that specific smells come to me. I feel a vibration in my heart space. I try to stay there, connect with others. I do smell my candle now that I think about it. I bought lavender to help me sleep. I am continuing to write. This is a stretch for me. In the past, words did not come easily. Now I take time, knowing the answer will appear. 20 minutes seems like a long time to write. I know it will become easier. So how do I stabilize to be in the universal space more often? Maybe set timers to remind myself. Trust instead of feeling like I am not doing it right. Breathe. Write words. It just occurred to me to have colored pencils available. Draw pictures, color, be creative. Channel Christy. Christy is a friend of mine. Channel Christy. Wish her well on her Ireland trip. Know that it will be fabulous. Breathe in the light for everyone. Staying in the center sometimes scares me. Like Marianne Williams had said, it's our greatness that scares us, not our inadequacies. It is stay in the light and center where it all becomes easy. Flow and let silence is good too. How do I reconcile silence and writing? I hear the noise around me, even in the silence. And yet words, maybe words are, or lack thereof is my silence. Silence again, word-wise.
Thank you very much, Lynn. Would you like feedback?
Yes, please.
All right.
And I'm sweating right now.
Woohoo! You're so brave. Thank you. Woohoo, Lynn.
Okay, Lynn, can I give you some feedback?
Yes, please.
I love how you start out naming a bunch of names for what God represents and like stands for to you, and then you dive in like, why is connection so elusive? I really love the phrase that you said, compassion, seeing everyone as they truly are and as they've come here to be. I think that was really beautiful because it's more than just seeing someone for as they're presenting themselves. It's like it's adding that depth for who they come here to be. That's so sweet when you can see someone for all they are like that. And then just the style of your writing in the middle there, I thought it was really fun how you bounced around from like the presence, like this is kind of hard, I'm doing this though, like going forward, and then you bounce to the back, you're like, it used to be harder, it'll be, you know, this is the past. And then you go to the future and you're thinking like, well, maybe I'll set some timers, maybe I'll like do this. And so to bounce around in your timeline like that, it was like, whoa, awesome, all of it. Taking it in. And how relatable staying in the center sometimes scares me. It's big, it's vulnerable there, and I can relate to it. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Allie. Who would like to go next? Melissa?
Yes. So first of all, I loved the, it was like just your stream of consciousness, just everything you were thinking, and it was so honest. And I appreciate that honesty. Some of the lines, I again like the beginning, how you named all the different names for that center or that connection, or for God, or you know, whatever is your choice for calling that energy. I like that. We all connect and be one mind. I enjoyed that. If I take the time, the answers will appear. And especially, just like Allie, I love the line, staying in the center sometimes scares me. I wrote that one down and underlined it several times. I think we can all relate to that. You just kind of named it in such a succinct way, but like, yeah, that's true. Also, I like the way you would come in and out. You would start writing and then realize, okay, wait, I'm still writing. What do I need to write now? I've still got to keep going. How am I going to get myself through that? But every time you would come out a little bit and talk about something that's going on, and then right back in to all of your thoughts. And then you'd come out again, and you were able to get yourself through that little bump, that little stop sign for a second that your brain was giving you. You got yourself through it every single time. And beautifully. And you talked a lot about not having the words and not being able to write, but there it was just flowing through you, and it got more and more so as you got comfortable. And I noticed that right away, like that confidence building too. And the words were lovely. I can't wait for you to go back and read them yourself to say, oh, wow, I did that. This is great. And one last thing was the colored pencils. I wrote that down and put a big heart next to it because I was like, that was a great idea. Writing in colors kind of stimulates me sometimes, and I don't do it enough. And sometimes sketching and drawing to get yourself again through the little stop signs and the little bumps. I love that idea, so I'm going to steal it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So thank you very much.
Thank you, Melissa. Patty, you want to go?
I heard a lot of myself in what you wrote, so hopefully I'm responding to you. What I heard you describing was going from, in different ways, going from conceptual to embodiment. Connections, embodiment. When we're not connected, it's conceptual. And colored pencils to me was describing going from black and white to color, bringing depth, going from one dimension to 3 dimension, which is all the same, different ways of describing being asleep or waking up. So it seemed like every different thing that you were describing, you were saying the same thing differently, using different examples of how you can, what you can do to wake up, and being aware of when you're not. I don't know. And you mentioned the Marianne Williams, our successes, what we're most afraid of. And I just wrote, being awake can be scary. So thanks.
Thank you, Patty. That was wonderful feedback. Christine, do you want to go next?
Sure, I have very little to add that is different. I felt I appreciated her honesty as well, and as everyone else, the colored pencils seemed like a really good idea. I think you're doing a wonderful job. I just have nothing to add that others haven't said. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. So ditto, yes, on what everyone said. And Lynn, and the elements that I want to bring forward are just the practice of the deep inquiry that you showed. And right, how Allie said, how that inquiry was at so many levels, like on the page, in your senses, like, oh, I noticed that I can smell the candle, and then how by you doing that, it brought forward surprise to the listener, and that surprise I felt allowed me to open up both into your journey and my compassion for you and your journey, but also for my own journey and compassion. So thank you. Just, breathe the right words. It just occurred to me, staying in the center sometimes scares me. How do I recognize silence and writing? These are just such really important questions, and I'm so glad that you're on them. Thank you. Would you like to say anything?
Yeah, this was really different for me. I have tried many, many times to journal, and it never really worked. And I think it's because I always wrote as if somebody else was going to read it. And that sort of stifled and kept me from really writing. So this time I just wrote. It's instead of even thinking about what I was writing or thinking about anybody even responding, I just wrote whatever came to my hand and came on the paper.
Thank you for being willing to do that. And then
Yeah, thank you for doing this. This is great.
You're very, very welcome. Are you complete?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone have a burning desire to read? Christine, I think it's you and me left.
I guess it's my turn, yes. Patty, you weren't the only one late. I came in about 10 minutes before you, so I wrote a couple of paragraphs. The light I will breathe is the one I started with upon awakening. That is how I find my center each morning, where I invite my local selves to come up and join with me as I become a little more of essence each day. The white light in my heart seems to be the warm place where I feel most comfortable. Staying in my center, as prompted, seems to me a real gift today. There never is time to stay in my light. I know I should be doing better with my compulsion to work, but haven't been able to conquer that yet. Perhaps breathing in the light is the trick I need to learn. Breathing in the light, I conjure a beautiful white wolf howling in the moonlight on a mountainous snowscape. And that is where I would have gone with more time.
All right, thank you for diving in there like that. And would you like any feedback?
Sure.
Who would like to go first? Lynn?
Yeah, I can go. And again, I just wrote down phrases, and I like that you were talked about the light upon awakening, and then mentioned that your local self could come up in that, and that maybe and talked about the white light in your heart, and maybe staying in the center is the real gift. And then I really love that you conjured up this white wolf and brought it all back into the light. So it was sort of a interweaving of light in and out of yourself. And so thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Next. Allie.
Yeah, hi. Christine, as you journeyed through and with light, it was really fun at the end how you conjured up a white wolf and a snowscape. I was imagining the white light, the brightness of it, and then the wolf eyes appear, and there's snow, it's all white, it's a white wolf, but its eyes are there and present. And how can you not be present when you're looking into the eyes of a wolf? And that was fun. Some lines I wrote down. The light I breathe is the one I started with. Staying in my center seems like a real gift. I could really relate to that. It's easy to get a busy mind sometimes, and so finding those moments where we can just breathe and just be present with ourselves, with breath, with light, it does feel like a gift. And so I can relate. So thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Allie. Melissa?
Thank you for sharing. Again, I like the line that the others have said, the light I breathe in is the one I started with, and then upon your awakening. I really like that. I haven't thought of it in that way before. It's the light that I came with. It's the light that's there, and I found it. And I liked the line you said, I'm not sure of the beginning of it, but what I wrote was a little more of my essence each day. And I feel like that's the journey that we're all on, is finding that little bit each and every day. What can I find today that makes me me? What can I breathe in today that makes me me? And I think this writing class is part of that, and helping us find that essence, that little bit, something new each day. And then you pulled out this beautiful imagery of the white wolf. And again, you just put me right there with the snow and the wolf. And it's a little bit like, it's like survival. That wolf is out there, but it's made for survival. It knows its power, it knows its strength, it knows its essence. And so I think that's what I got from that visual. And your honesty throughout the whole thing as well. So thank you very much for sharing. I enjoyed it.
Thank you, Melissa. All right, Patty?
Well, there's not much more to add than what everybody already said. I think that what I took from your writing was kind of a duality. On one hand, being very connected and aware of that light within you, and that white light that's in your heart that you came with, and yet at the same time feeling that your work, the busyness of your work, is in conflict for how much of that light is experienced or shown. As we all, I think that's the duality of where we're going, is bringing forth more of the light in everything that we do. But it seemed to culminate with the wolf and brought that concept in a wholeness through the wolf, that both of those elements were merged within the light of having lived in Alaska, and I had a half-wolf dog. The power and the beauty of that particular animal, and the interesting how emotional I am talking about a wolf, but I don't know why you picked a wolf, but the wolf is family connected, so connected in community, and a loner at the same time. So bridging those elements, it felt like that's what you were doing, was bridging two parts of you, and it came together in the symbol of the wolf. That's all.
Thank you, Patty.
Thank you, Patty.
What I'll say is that you didn't have a lot of time to write, and you didn't write a lot, but there was a deep power in everything that you wrote, such that I was like right there with you in the waking up in the morning. And so my mind went both to myself and this contradiction of like being in the dream world, which has a lot of reference to it, of being a deep spiritual place, and yet we wake up from that and we have to collect ourselves. And so there was both space for me to reflect on my own experience, but also more universally on dreaming and waking and collecting and that task. So I appreciated you doing that for us. And then, yeah, just how you brought that wolf to life, and how that wolf has such a deep resonance for all of us here is I'll reflect that as quite powerful. So thank you for trusting yourself and staying. And would you like to say anything about your writing?
No, I'm just fine. Thank you.
I am the last person to read, so I will do that. Center, light, stay, breath. Yesterday, my son Eli told me he holds me responsible for his darkness. Why did you let me get addicted to video games? He asked. Why didn't you protect me from Tim, my ex-husband? Center, light, stay, breath. Even me writing about this pushes on my son's boundaries. Forget sharing it. Center, light, stay, breath. Yes, I did wound him. Yet, center, stay. Don't tell him yet again about how much worse off I had it. Center, breath. Or how I played video games like Pac-Man or Tetris for hundreds of hours as a teenager and found it to be a lifesaver and not an addiction. It wasn't until I went to college that I discovered what a fucked up person you were, he said to me yesterday. Stay, center, light. Don't try to make anything go away, I tell myself. You there, Mom? He asked. Yes, I'm here, I say. I'm listening. Then you let Raina fall off the trapeze, even after you knew Tim had poor judgment about safety, he said. His dad being a safety freak about every crossing of the street and every electrical outlet. It's never been my way. All of a sudden, I realize how much my son believed in my absolute ability to hold my children in a safe world. I felt a deep love from him. Center, light, stay, breath. My ex-husband and my son met each other when Eli was 3. We stayed together for 16 years. A deep hate developed between the two of them. If I would have left him sooner, Eli, that would have been good for you, it seems. Now let's talk about the trapeze, I say. Wait, he says. You made me cry. Stay, center, breathe, light. My son, who I've been estranged from since he left from college 8 years ago, moves towards me again. I can feel it. How do I stay as Eli's parent? How do I honor my own ferocious love? How do I let my son's wounds be his wounds? How do I not defend myself, but open to his need for me, his need? How do I reach back to the Big Bang, all 13.7 billion years, and be willing to heal and hold all of it from the beginning into the future? And I will take feedback, please.
Holy smokes. Thank you for your vulnerability. It seems like to me what you wrote, modeled, is the very a necessary or helpful way of staying present when you can get sucked into the past. By saying, stay, center, light, breathe. It sounded like every time you were talking about something very painful that could swallow you up, you brought yourself back through to the presence of who you really are, to be with your son in the moment and not from who you were in the time that he's describing. And so it was like a modeling of how to remember who you are, remember who you are, continually bringing yourself back to that's who you want to respond from. So it was almost like there was experiencing the pain with you and the relief with you at the same time when you were using those words. So thank you.
Fascinating. Thank you. Okay. Melissa?
Thank you so much for allowing us, in your mind, that vulnerability, as she said. And I felt I really connected with it because I feel like that's a narrative that I have going on often when things arise. I've got that quick reaction, and then the remind yourself who you are, breathe, stay, and then instead of react, respond. You have a choice between the reaction and the response. And another thing that it brought up for me is the issue is not always the issue. So your issues that you're having with people, and then you brought it back to like the way beginning, the Big Bang, like these issues that we're having really trigger something deeper, some other time, some other place, some other memory. And then again, you have to stay centered and breathe and remember who you are, and not let it, if you don't have any buttons to push, they can't push them. If there are no buttons, so try to remember, okay, here are all my buttons everywhere, and they're just jabbed. I'm good. I've got this. And so that struggle is something I do all the time. So I really appreciate hearing you articulate it and write it so beautifully. It was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Melissa. Appreciate that. Christine?
I was thinking how grateful I am to you for offering this to us. Here we are, 6 women. I've never known any of you. Perhaps some of you have met. I never have. but for the very first time, being able to open out and be so honest with yourself, and you're the one who has created it. And you've created a space, an anonymous space, a safe space. And I just am very grateful to you. And wow, you gave a lot, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine.
I can go next. When you were talking about your son Eli, it made me think about my daughter. She's actually my stepdaughter. I met her when she was 8, and made me start wondering about all of the things that happened in her life since I met her, and how much of it is whatever in her mind. So thank you for sharing that. And I like the fact that you kept coming back to center, light, stay, breathe, to sort of get you back to center. And I love the fact that you said that games were a lifesaver for you, whereas your son saw it as something completely different. And I love that you said that it was nice that you could hold your children in a safe world. And then talking about honoring the ferocious love that you have. And then heal and hold all of it. So thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome, Lynn. Thank you very much. Allie?
Hi, Kristina. I really enjoyed listening through your process. It was very much a reflection, a healing in a way. How do we look at each other's wounds and honor each other's experiences and allow each other to heal? It's something that I know I'm constantly learning about. I think a lot of people are learning about how to best do that. It's really interesting. And I admire how the bravery it takes to look at pain head on, especially when it's pain from a loved one or someone really close to you, like your son. And when that pain is directed towards you, that makes the depth of that wound a little bit deeper, I feel like. And so I admire the bravery to look at it head on, and also the respect you have towards letting him have his experience with it. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you very much, Allie. Yeah, thanks for everyone showing up so that I could write more on this thing that happened yesterday, and keep digging deeper into my own body, my potential strength, and my constant question, which is how much responsibility can I take as a co-creator with the universe in this journey that we're on as human beings, and into the evolutionary process of where we're going. And so to have my son be just so upset at me about things that that I don't want, that I don't want to take responsibility for, because they don't make sense to me, and yet to him they're everything. He's been holding on to these things for years, right? And so it was a different experience yesterday, and we did have a breakthrough that we haven't been able to have in a long time. And so to just watch myself grow up, like even as I'm hurting a lot, and even as I'm trying to do something I don't know how to do, and even as it's just this singular person, but yet so hugely important to me. So thank you for being part of my growth process, and thank you for being part of this class. I really appreciate it. I'm just going to check the time. It's 1:58, and we will, I think we'll just close to end on time. And does anyone not want to have what they read as part of the recording that other folks get to look at? And if you change your mind, you can always email us within these next, like today would be great. So wonderful. I appreciate that because people really like watching the recordings. And we will meet next week at noon Central Time, which is 1 Eastern and 10 Pacific. And we will send out a reminder and the recording. And I hope you all have a beautiful week, and let us bow to close.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Blessings to every one of you on your journey. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.